Hello, I'm John Joshua Bilonia and I'm here to perform experiment number 1 regarding digital output. So, we have here the MPLab X IDE already opened up. First, I'll create a new project. Then we'll pick the right chip, which is PIC 16F18875, and click next. Choose XC8 as the compiler. We'll browse for another folder. Here in experiment 1, I'll name it Exp1. So I'll just copy the name and then we click finish. Now it's generating the make files. So here we have our hierarchy for our project. It still has nothing at all. So first we're gonna use MCC. Then of course the classic. Then finish. Now it's initializing the project. Now we have here, so we'll go to the pin manager in its grid form, I believe. In its grid form, and I'll choose output port RA3 as our output. Although in the experiment, it is stated as RA4, but for the sake of variation, we'll choose RA3, but still will follow the same procedure. So now that RA3 is now set as an output, we'll go back to the pin manager, the pin module, where we'll rename this as LED D2, if I'm correct. Let's see here. So it would be named as such LED D2, and then we'll uncheck analog. And then for the next step, we'll go into the system module, where we'll select HF into SC 4 megahertz and clock divided by 4, so that we'll have an effective clock of 1 megahertz, and then we'll make sure that we enable low voltage programming. Okay, so now that, let's go to the next step, which would be generating the code. So here we'll just click generate. Here we see generation is complete here at the bottom. So now that we have that, we'll go to our project and access our main code here, main.c. So let's minimize this first and minimize this. Okay, so now we have this body. Now, after this is done, we're gonna type this code within the while body. We have delay ms250 or delay for 250 milliseconds and toggle the LED D2. So we'll go ahead and type that delay ms250 semicolon. Then for the next would be LED D2, which is our output. It should be set as toggled. Okay, and then we're gonna go ahead and build it. Here it's building the code. The build is successful. So after that the building is successful, we'll now connect our PickKit3 to our computer. It is already connected here beside me. If I'll show to you later. So we'll go ahead and open up. We can close this now, and we can now open MPLAB XIPE right here. So now we have here MPLAB IPE. Let's just wait for the interface to surface. Now, okay, so we can now select PickKit3 and click connect. I made sure that the supply is already connected to the circuit. Okay, we have here target device, our pick chip found. So now that we have our chip, we should now go to the advanced settings, type in the password, and go to the power, set the voltage level as 3.125, and check this box right here. Then we go back to our operation, and then now we'll browse for our hex file. Our hex file is found on experiment1 in here. So our hex file is found in the dist folder. Dist default production, and here we have our hex file. Okay, hex file is now loaded successfully. So now we're gonna program our chip. Programming is now complete. Now that the programming is now complete, we will move on now to our hardware right here. Okay, so to move on our hardware, okay, now I'm gonna show you our hardware right here. So here we have our hardware. So here is our power source connected to a voltage divider network alongside with our PickKit3 and our circuit. So now we're gonna go ahead and disconnect our PickKit3, and it should be starting to blink now every 250 milliseconds. As you can see, our observation says that what I've observed from this is that the LED is blinking on and off for about a period of 250 milliseconds for each on time and for each off time. So in order to stop this blinking, the only way is to turn off our power source. So we'll go ahead and pull out our power source right here. The moment we pull this, it should be stopped blinking. Now it's pulled off and it stopped blinking. Now if I put on the power source again, it should resume blinking. And there it goes. Okay, so let's proceed to the other part of the experiment. There's another modification that is wanted from the experiment guidelines. So let's move on to the other part of the experiment, which should be right here. So here's the previous one. These are observation there. So the modification will be modify the code in the main.c such that the LED will blink at 2 seconds interval. Write your observation below. So we'll go ahead and open up MPLAB X IDE once again. So MPLAB X IDE is now opening. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and go to the main.c file of the project Exp1. It is loading. Okay, so we'll go ahead with our source files. in our main.c file, we'll open up main.c and we'll modify it such that it would turn on and off at a 2 seconds interval. So 2 seconds is equivalent to 2000 milliseconds. So we'll replace this with 2000 and then we'll build it again, build the code again. It's building. Okay. Okay, now that we have this, we'll go ahead in our MPLAB XIPE once again and reconnect our PickKit 3. So, okay, so it is now recognized. Let us connect it once again. Okay, it has failed connection. Okay, so after I have restarted MPLAB XIPE, it has now found our chip here. So we're gonna go browse our, make sure our settings is correct. We have power here set to 3.125. Check here. Go back to operate and browse for our hex file. This is our modified version for hex file. So now that the hex file is now loaded, we can program it to our chip. Okay, now the programming is now complete. We can now disconnect our PickKit 3 and we'll go ahead again to see our hardware here. Okay, let's go ahead and see our hardware here. So as you can see, the PickKit is now disconnected. Now, for our LED, it's on 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So as you can see, it is turning on and off regularly with a period of 2 seconds. Now that completes our experiment. Let's go back at it. So after modifying the code in the main.c such that the LED will blink at 2 seconds interval, we write our observation as the LED is turning on and off periodically with a period of 2 seconds. And the same as ever, the only way to stop it is to turn off the source. So that is all for experiment 1. Thank you.